Countess Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue my discussion on Hunter the Reckoning in the World of Darkness. We started talking about character creation. Let's discuss concept. Now, concept dives from a lot of different things, and it comes to character, too. When we talk about the word character, it's traditionally used to describe a fictitious individual in a story. When it comes to the storytelling system, your character is not only defined by you, but between the interactions with the storyteller and the other player. All of you come together to build this character that you are going to be playing in a way. It's truly your essence to it, but those interactions, because you have to remember, motivation, consistency, and style are the essence of what your character is, and they should be driven by you in the interactions with everyone else. In the same way, character can be an aspect of your personality. And in this case, it would be a character of your character's personality. You then have to look to the drives, interests, and motivations of your character, all which are important, and all of which we're sort of going to dive into today. All of them are aspects of the character you're going to be playing that you should think about. Don't be just a blank canvas, something that just has these strange powers on it. You want to have motivations that's not only consistent, but comprehensible, that people could understand what your motivation is. And if it's always the same, you're a little predictable. But those make for the best characters in stories. Hence why you want to be a great character in the storytelling system. Your character might not be the best person. You often aren't. But you will feel more real by having that consistency. A good story has that depth of character and complexity to them. And this doesn't matter if it's in some kind of media, like TV, movie, play, written down, or in your pen and paper games. Now, the rules of Hunter itself are concerned with what your character can and cannot do. That's the important part of the rules, but that is only half of the character you're going to be building. Yes, I want to know if my character can shoot a gun, or juggle, or if I can balance on a log. Those are all important, but it's not everything. Still, half of what we need. The other half, of course, is going to be personality, and it's up to you to build that personality. You're going to want to build that personality in such a way that you can empathize and enjoy playing that character, have a great time, connect with it in a way that's going to be more enjoyable. So you definitely want to like and empathize with that character. A great way of looking at it is if your character's boring, no one cares what happens to it. So before we even take our pencils and put them to our papers to start writing up our characters, we gotta think of a place to start with. Now, there are plenty of good places to start with, and the fact is there's no easy formula about what you're going to do to build a character. You could definitely take inspiration, and inspiration could become in the form of making a character similar to some kind of fictional character, or basing it off a real person somewhere. Maybe you want to build your neighbor, because you think your neighbor would be really cool as a hunter, or a relative of yours, or just someone you might know, into a version of them in the hunter world. All of these are fine. Some folks like to even just build versions of themselves in the world, which is also fine. Whatever you do, again, no easy way of coming up with it. You just have to put yourself down, think of something, or find some inspiration. If you ever get stuck, it's important to remember that the essence of the character you're building, the concept, the person, the personality, existed before they became a hunter. Just because your eyes are awakened to the truth of the world doesn't mean the core aspects of yourself change. Certain things will, of course, change as you're entering into a new world, but the core of who this character was existed there. And you might want to ask a few questions. Who were they? Where did they live? What were their ideals? What was the most important thing to your character? There are plenty of answers to these, and kind of a bunch of them suggest different things. If you really want to go into some help, there is a little bit of information on some of the answers to the most important thing to your character in the book that helps you steer some direction. Whether this is art, patriotism, the immediate good, just good times in general, pursuit of some kind of sacred being, or power, all are fine answers and help reflect your character, dive deeper into it. Concept is important because it's the foundation of how your character is going to react to this new world and put themselves in it, what their place is in the world of hunters once they've joined it. This is not a mechanical trait, mind you. This is just helping you get an idea of how your character is going to approach the hunt and deal with the various challenges that they're going to face along the way, how they might react to various victories they might get, or even defeats. For basic record-keeping purposes, you're just going to jot down a couple of words describing your character in the concept section of your sheet. All of this thought pattern that we've been talking about up until now is boiling down to just a few words. It could be one word, all you need to describe that basic concept. It could be a small half sentence. It could be like 5, 6, 7 words. Whatever it is, whatever you feel is appropriate, to jot down just a few things that represent you. At least you as the character. Now, next we look to creed. And I've talked a little bit about this before, but creed is not a job your character is getting into. It's not a class that you're restricted to. No. Creed is a basic philosophy of how your character is approaching the hunt. It's how they believe they should contend with monsters. That's why there is no, true perfect fit into a creed. Everyone kind of generally fits into it a little bit and kind of hits with those core notes of what the creed is, rather than being that, perfect circular peg into the hole. Everyone's a square peg. Basically, creed is a philosophy, a little bit of a sum of beliefs, a little bit of outlook on how they should do things in the world, all combined together. And how your character should tend to act on these. The qualities of the creed tend to lead to certain behaviors when it comes to hunting. It drives you to how you're going to react to the creatures, if you're going to try to kill them all, redeem them, find out information about their origins, their existence. Whatever it is, you look to your creed to kind of give you this guidance about it, but this is because this is fitting with your concept. Basically, however you're building your concept tells you how your character might react, and that's telling you what creed to have. Effectively, groups of hunters with similar beliefs are grouped together as a creed. Creeds are sort of a newer thing as information in the hunter net has become more of a connective tissue between hunters that they can connect together. Then these kind of subcultures of the culture of hunter, and we have subcultures of creeds, are beginning to come more into existence. But there is still a lot of disconnectivity between the creeds because it's not the creed itself. Each of the persons in it isn't that, again, perfect fit. There's no clear lines between the creeds too. Very easily a character might be able to fit into 2 different creeds, and just whichever one is best ends up being their creed. Now, when it comes to your storyteller, when you're looking at creeds, they might give certain rules for it. They might say that you're free to choose whatever you want. Maybe they say you all have to be this creed. Maybe they say you have to all be different creeds. They could even say, these creeds here, you can't play them. There are lots of variations on how your storyteller will look at the creeds and determine a little bit of the things that you're going to be choosing from them. You might not be able to play this creed that you think is the perfect fit. That one over there might be good enough. So that's what I am. Now, each creed has a virtue behind it, which is a kind of measurement of your character's guiding philosophy when it comes to the hunt, how far the character may go in pursuing it, and a general measure of power they might have against the supernatural. Now, once we have this built in, it's time to look at the next part of your hunter. Some central ideals that help determine their personality, their character a little bit more. Nature and demeanor. These kind of behavioral traits are called archetypes. And the fact is, nature and demeanor are not required for a hunter. You do not need to use these. But they can be a helpful guiding point to give you an idea of how your character should act in the world. They're another point in time, a little point of information to help you guide your character. Now, demeanor is an important one because it's the mask you show to the world. It's how you act around others, how you try to portray yourself to others. Very often, demeanors are different from nature. how you really are inside. You're using your demeanor to hide that nature as best you can, that this is what I want people to think about me. Because of the darkness they have faced, the radical change in the way they've looked at things, and the fact that these monsters could learn a little bit about them and come and get them, it's hard to act as your true self. You always want to put a face forward that is appropriate to the situations, and hence that's why a lot of hunters have very different demeanors than their actual nature. Demeanor is a tool that hunters use to hide their true intentions, hopes, and many of their activities. And it's a tool, much like any of the other tools they use, from knives to guns to bombs, whatever it be, it's just another tool. And like all tools, you can change them. Demeanor is not something that is set in stone and can be fluid. You could encounter something which could change the way you want to act to the world, that you feel like you should reflect things differently, and so your demeanor can change. But that's it for today. So I've dove deep into the concept portion of your character creation, which includes choosing a concept, which I talked quite in detail about what it means to have your concept. I then talked, of course, about your creed. We talked about creeds before, but we're just a little bit more about what you're doing when you're choosing it. And then I started talking about nature and demeanor by telling you all about your demeanor. In the next episode, we're going to dive into your nature, your true aspect of your personality, and then we're going to move into the more mechanical aspects of your character creation, with choosing attributes and abilities. But I hope you're having a great day. If you have any kind of really interesting and unusual character concepts you've come up with for a hunter and managed to pull off, let me know in the comments below. I love to hear about your characters and your games. But regardless, though, until the next time, I bid you farewell.